Satellite 7, an adventure serial in 8 parts by Angus McVicker. The story is told by 15-year-old Jake Thompson. Part 1, Mystery Island.
Tony had been in bed with flu, but that afternoon, when I came in from school, he was up and about for the first time. I remember he was standing by the window of our sitting room, looking out onto the River Forth, and listening to a recording he had made before he took ill. My brother Tony's a recording star. I stood beside him and listened too.
It was like men and all, his clothes were done in cane and all, a red and bad you minded. Come and merry, merry be, come and merry, merry be, come and sing along with me, oh, bad and bad you minded.
Well, Jake, does it pass muster?
Gosh, yes. I bet it'll be just as popular as all the others.
So my agent thinks. He called this afternoon about an hour ago.
More contracts?
3 dates for television, 5 for radio, all within the next 3 months.
Great stuff, Tony.
As a matter of fact, Jake, I told him nothing doing.
What? Did he pass out?
Well, very nearly. He wants me to see a psychiatrist.
I don't blame him.
Look, Jake, I've been thinking. It was that song that started me off, Alan Laird of Moydart. I've been thinking about it all the time I've been in bed.
What on earth do you mean?
Well, you know, Jake, I suppose there's a good bit of Dad in both of us. He loved the sea and ships, so Mum used to say.
I wish we'd known him, Tony.
I did, a little. I was 5 years old, you know, when he was lost at sea. Anyway, I got thinking about the sea and about us, you and me, Jake. How hard Mum worked to give us a decent education. How hard we've worked since she died.
It's what she wanted.
I know, in a way, but she did make me promise to look after you.
Well, gosh, haven't you? You're famous, even though you're only 21. You're paying for my keep and giving me the best schooling a chap could have.
A good schooling isn't everything, Jake. This past year I've been so busy we haven't even had a weekend away together. We're in a rut, Jake.
Well, we can't have everything.
Maybe you're right, but there are certain priorities. And this is where the sea comes in. Remember that night we went to the boat show?
You bet.
And remember that little cabin cruiser you said you'd give your right arm for?
Yes, with the new low-consumption petrol engine.
I phoned up the dealer just before you came in. It's ours, Jake.
What? You mean...
I bought it. For us.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, don't you start passing out.
But Tony, it must have cost you thousands.
Well, what's the good of having thousands if you don't use them? Jake, we're going for a holiday, you and I.
Great.
As soon as you get your school holidays next week, we're off on our new boat.
Tony, let me get this straight. My head's going round in circles.
Great scientific minds never go round in circles.
Oh, dry up. Look, first of all, where are we going?
Dad came from the West Coast, and that's where we're going. A tour of the Hebrides.
Oh.
Doing exactly what we want to do and taking our time about it.
Yes.
For you, no more quadratic equations, no bus to catch at 8:30 every morning. And for me, no lights on studio walls, no clocks ticking around to 0 hour. It'll be wonderful, Jake. Can't you imagine it?
Yes, but what about your contract?
I told you I've cancelled them, in the meantime, at any rate. 3 weeks today, I have my next recording session. Until then, the world is ours. We're going to live, Jake. At last we're going to live. Hi, Jake. Grub up. Come and get it.
Right, Tony. What about the cellar?
Oh, fix her as she goes, with the whole Atlantic to maneuver in.
Okay. Be with you in a second. What's the menu?
Your plates on the hatch cover. Cold ham and beans, brown bread and butter.
Good old Tony. Boy, am I hungry.
There's coffee to come.
You've certainly got your appetite back, Tony. You're looking a lot better, too.
Oh, I don't know when I felt better. This is the life, eh?
You bet. What's the time?
Oh, nearly 1 o'clock, I make it. Why?
I was just wondering, do you think we'll make barrel before it gets dark?
Oh, should do. Calm sea, following wind. In any case, it's not dark until after 10 o'clock at this time of year.
I'm not so sure about the weather, Tony. That black ridge of cloud to the southwest. And the wind's gone round to the south. Against the sun.
Uh-huh. Pity if it's going to break now after the wonderful fortnight we've had. Anyway, I don't think a break will come all that suddenly. Not till we reach Castle Bay, at least.
Oh, well, why should we worry? Even though it does get stormy, we can have a bit of fun ashore.
That's the spirit. Here, have another slice of ham.
Oh, this is great. If it wasn't for that black cloud behind us, I'd be at peace with the world.
Oh, leave it to the Dame Clan Reynolds. She'll get us there. Now, when you're finished, what about popping down for the coffee? Right, Jake. Everything's battened down. I'll take the tiller.
Okay. It's getting worse. Every minute.
Only a couple of hours since we had our lunch, too. I never expected it to blow up like this.
Phew. It's a real kiss to the Dame Quadrangle. Talk about suffering. I hope the engine keeps going.
So do I. The only trouble about this boat is the open cockpit.
Where exactly are we?
I think we're still about 40 miles south of Barra.
What's our speed?
We were doing 10 knots. Now only about 3 or 4, I reckon.
Then we'll never reach Castle Bay before dark, will we?
Not on your... Hold on, Jake.
The Dame can take it, though.
I think so.
There's nowhere else, is there? I mean, no other island where we could find shelter.
There are islands south of Barra, about 10 miles northwest of where we are now. But as far as I know, they're uninhabited. We'd probably get wrecked if we
Here
were
comes
near them.
another! Phew, that's the worst yet.
You can say that again.
I hope those valuable tonsils of yours don't come to any harm.
They're well insured, or so I'm told. Jake, the engine stopped.
Gosh, I'm going to have a look at it.
Right, take care, though.
Don't worry. Probably that last wave. What's one trying?
I hope it's nothing worse. What's the verdict, Jake?
I'm not sure. Just a minute. There's a terrible smell of petrol.
Keep well down or you'll be washed
Okay,
overboard. You all right, Jake?
I'm all right. But Tony, we've had it.
How do you mean we've had it?
There's no petrol left.
What? We filled the tank this morning in Tobermory.
The feed pipe's cracked. Must have been the storm. The petrol's all leaked away.
Oh, no.
What happens now?
We just drift before the wind and say our prayers, Jake.
No steerage way.
Not that sausage. But the dame's well built. She'll ride it out.
This is not so funny. I mean, we haven't even a radio to send out a distress signal.
Oh, wouldn't do much good anyway. Not till the storm passes. When it gets dark, we can send out flares. The way we're drifting, we should be near those islands by then.
I wonder what Dad would do.
Same as us, I expect. Just in Providence.
For nearly 4 hours, the Dame danced about like a cork, but she stayed afloat. Suddenly, as we crouched there beside the tiller, we saw an island, a low, flat island, with strange towers like trellis work.
Not a sign of a sheltered bay or anywhere to beach her.
Those rocks, Tony! We're drifting straight for them!
The dame wouldn't have much chance in there. Come on, get the anchor out.
Is it shallow enough?
Should be, with 5 fathoms of cable. Right, if we loose this butterfly nut, the cable should run... Oh, heck, it's jammed tight.
There's a hatchet here, among the fire equipment.
Right, the very thing.
This should loosen it. Okay, have a go. She's coming, Tony.
Fine. That'll do. Stand by the anchor cable in case it fouls the rail.
Right.
I'll loosen the nut. Look out! Down, people!
She's holding, Tony.
Thank goodness, but will she keep on holding? The dame's dancing up and down like a bronco. Watch it! Every time she comes up, that cable tightens like a fiddle string. I've been wondering, Jake, what's on that island?
Search me. I noticed some curious-looking buildings as we came in, but you can't see them so well from here. It's getting dark, too.
Look over there. On those lights.
Where?
Beyond the cloud of spray. See, on higher ground. I only saw them for a second.
I believe you're right. Then it is inhabited.
Could be. Jake, the anchor cable.
It snapped. We're drifting again.
Where are the flares?
Under the light rocks in a box. In here.
Right, let's try it. Remember, fire to leeward.
I hope somebody sees us. We'll be on the rocks in another 2 minutes.
I've loaded a red one. Stand clear, Jake.
Okay. Gosh, it makes the surf look like blood.
We'll try another.
If there's anyone on the island, they're bound to see that.
I know. Hold on, Jake. We're racing in on top of this wave.
Tony, we're going to drown.
Hold on, Jake.
Oh, look at those rocks. Oh, Tony, I'm scared. We're going to drown. We're going to drown.
We're wearing our life jackets. We've a chance. Hold on. May hold together. Oh, no. She can't burn them now. She's standing there.
What are Tony, where are you? Where are you? Where are you, Tony?
Stay quiet, Jake. Tony's gone out with Father to have a look at you both.
But who are you? Where am I?
This is the island of Shuna, and I'm Bridie O'Neill. You've had a nasty crack in the head, and you're in bed in my father's cottage. You're quite safe. But tomorrow morning you'll be as white as rain. How's that for information?
But what happened? I mean,
You were shipwrecked, you and Tony. Don't you remember? An hour ago.
yes, I remember. The sea was as red as blood when Tony sent up the flares.
We spotted your flares. I ran across to tell them at the station, and we got down to the shore just in time to see your boat being flung high and dry on the rocks and Tony dragging you ashore. You struck your forehead on the side of the boat, I think. There's nothing serious, just a bad bruise.
Is Tony all right?
He's fine. He was fretting about you, so Father and Billy Hackett took him away to examine the boat. It's dark now, but Billy has a big inspection lamp.
Who's Billy Hackett?
Oh, Billy's the fitter at the station. One of the workers, you might call him, not one of the eggheads.
But what station? I can't understand all this.
Don't try. Not at the moment. Just be sensible and lie quiet. Would you like a drink?
Yes, please.
Well, here's some hot lemon I made. I'm quite a good nurse, you know.
Thanks.
That's better. Now, when the others come back, we'll have something to eat. Granny Stewart's frying some bacon in the kitchen.
Who on earth is Granny Stewart?
Oh, this was her cottage originally, before Father bought it. But when the scientists came, she refused to leave, so she just stays on along with us. She's a dear old soul, and a great help, but a wee bit eccentric, as you'll find out.
But what's going on? What's all this about?
Oh, here they come now. Now, that's it. Sit up and give Tony a surprise.
How is he, Bridie? Any better?
Oh, he's as right as rain. Nothing left but a headache, and as full of questions as a crime reporter.
Thank goodness, Jake. You scared me stiff passing out like that.
I'm okay, Tony. What about the boat?
It might be a lot worse. Billy Hackett says we can patch her up in a day or two.
Gosh, that's a relief. Thanks for pulling me out. Bridie told me.
Oh, forget it, Jake. Look, would you like to meet Mr. O'Neill and Billy Hackett? They carried you up to the cottage.
I'll tell them to come through. Then I'll help Granny Stewart get some supper ready.
Oh, thanks, Bridie.
Father, Billy, Jake would like to see you.
Mr. O'Neill's an author, by the way. He writes plays. And Billy Hackett's from the station. It seems we've stumbled on a government research establishment. Those trellis-work towers we saw, apparently they're launching gantries.
Gosh, rockets, you mean?
Maybe, but I'm not sure. If you ask me, Jake, there's something darn queer going on this island.
That was part one of Angus McVicker's adventure serial Satellite 7, produced in the Scottish studios of the BBC. The BBC presents Satellite 7, an adventure serial in 8 parts by Angus McVicker. The storyteller is 15-year-old Jake Thompson. Part 2, The Whispering Voices.
That evening, after the wreck of our cabin cruiser, as I lay in bed in Fergus O'Neill's cottage in the Hebridean island of Shuna, I knew in my bones, long before Tony said so, that something darn queer was going on. Then Bridie's father and Billy Hackett came into the room.
I'm delighted to see you better, Jake. I was sure you'd come too pretty soon.
Mr. Fergus O'Neill, Jake.
How'd you do?
And Mr. Billy Hackett.
How'd you do?
How do you, son? Well, that was exciting, all right. There I was settling down a bit of overtime in the workshop when Miss Bridie comes running up to the fence shouting about a shipwreck. I stuck my finger on the alarm buzzer and 20 of the lads come belting it after us to the shore. But when they say they wasn't needed, back they go inside. You'll meet them all in time, kid. Nice bunch of fellas.
We call Billy our liaison officer. For some reason, we see far more of him than of any of the others.
Blimey, the reason's sticking out a mile. Some of the blokes up there will drive you nuts. Talk about eyebrows. Thank goodness for Mr. O'Neill and Miss Bridie, that's all I can say. Anyway, don't you worry, Jake. As I told your brother, we'll have that boat of yours all shipshape in a couple of days.
You're all certainly very kind to us. We appreciate it very much.
Go on, cut out the speeches.
Don't let it give you a thought, Tony. But look, perhaps Jake's had enough of us in the meantime with that head of his.
Please don't go because of me. I'm feeling fine.
Sure, but it's time you had a little peace, and time that we had something to eat. Come on, Billy. And you too, Tony.
All right.
I think Granny and Bridie should have our meal ready by now.
See you later, Jake.
Yes.
Granny will bring in a tray for you, Jake, in a few minutes.
Come in.
Oh, there you are now, dear. Looking ever so much better. Ready for your supper, I hope?
Well, I do feel a bit hungry.
Well, here's a nice plate of eggs and a little bacon and a cup of tea to freshen you up.
Thanks. You'll be Granny Stewart.
Aye, that's what they call me here in the island. All my life I've lived on Shuna. Yours is not the first boat I've seen made a prisoner by the rocks.
Bridie said this was your cottage before her father bought it.
Yes, it was here that our children were born. Mary and Donald and Fiona. Fiona, my youngest, is a maiden of the skies.
A maiden of the skies?
Aye, she's a near hostess.
Oh.
And she flies in a great aeroplane. A different machine from those up there at the station.
Granny, what happens up there at the station?
Oh, that I cannot tell. But to you, a stranger, I will say this. Evil days have come to Shuna.
How do you mean?
Well, it's hard to explain. I remember the days when I was young, when Shuna was an island of many families with no enmity or suspicion amongst us. But the Great War changed all that, and the people could no longer make a living. I was left alone, except for Fergus O'Neill and his darling girl in the summertime. And then the strangers came.
What strangers, Granny?
Oh, strangers whose words were difficult to understand, with great roaring machines to build their towers. They spoke to me and were kind, but fear and suspicion dwelt in their eyes. Aye, my dear, there is evil in Shuna. A strange mystery I cannot understand.
Well, Tony says it's a rocket station. Government research. There's nothing to be afraid of in that.
Oh, I'm not afraid. Not of the big machines that go flaming up into the sky. But I am afraid of something else. There is hatred and distrust in Shuna. And to you and your brother, so young and innocent, I would give a warning. Repair your boat and leave this island before it is too late.
But I don't understand.
I also do not understand, but I hear their voices in the night. The evil men. I hear them whispering in the dark. And sometimes I hear others sobbing and crying like the souls of the lost.
You mean here? In this cottage?
Not here. Down by the shore, when the moon is full, and I walk alone with my thoughts.
Next day, we worked on the boat. Bridie and Tony and I. And for a while in the afternoon, Billy Hackett helped us. At sunset, Bridie suggested that we should have a closer look at the station. In the gathering dusk, we lay on top of the ridge, looking down at the tall towers and the rows of small white buildings enclosed by a barbed wire fence.
Does that engine keep running all the time, Bridie?
I think so, but we scarcely hear it. It's become part of our lives, like the wind and the sound of the sea.
I expect it's a dynamo. They must use a terrific amount of electricity for lights and power and all that radar equipment.
Had they launched any rockets yet?
2 in the past 6 weeks. Out into the Atlantic, or so they said. Each time they gave us plenty of warning and asked us along to the station. Granny Stewart and Father and I. We took shelter with the workmen in a safety bunker. The eggheads, of course, were in the firing bay.
Who are the eggheads?
Well, amongst others, Professor Waters. Professor Max Waters, who's in charge, and Roderick McIntyre, his chief engineer, and Flight Lieutenant Harry Carmichael, who commands the guards.
Oh, so there's an RAF guard, eh?
About 30 men. On duty all the time.
I wouldn't think they'd be so strict about security on a lonely island like this.
Recently, they've been very strict indeed.
Will we soon be launching another rocket, do you think?
I don't know, but if you notice, there's something pretty big in that middle gantry.
I'll say there is. Oh, it's like an enormous torpedo standing on its tail.
Something brewing, eh?
Father thinks so. He tried to get in touch with the professor twice last week. Some technical details he wanted for his new play. but Harry Carmichael stopped him at the gate. Father was quite hurt. Oh, well, we better make tracks for the cottage before it gets too dark.
Okay, Bridie.
You bet. I'm hungry.
We'll take the shortcut along the cliff top. It's a bit rocky and uneven, so mind you don't slip.
Right?
Tell me, where do you two come from? I've been bursting with curiosity, and all day I've been too polite to ask.
We live in Edinburgh, but Dad was Highland, from Argyllshire. Maybe you've heard Tony on the radio or on a record.
Shut up now, Jane.
Oh, no. Not Tony Thompson who sings those lovely Scots ballads.
That's it.
But this is marvelous. I never even suspected. And me with stacks of your records. And...
Gosh, look out where you're going, Tony.
I didn't notice that big crack in the rock.
Oh, you're right.
Yes, I just slipped. No damage done.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to warn you. I was so excited. We've got to keep away from the edge here. Some of the cracks go right down.
Wait. What's that?
What is it, Tony?
Listen.
Yes, I hear something.
Keep quiet. There it is. Louder now.
It's voices. There's something else.
There's nobody here. Not anywhere near us. Nothing but rocks.
It's voices, all right. Whispering voices.
It's like somebody crying. Where's it coming from?
It's in the air. There's nowhere else it can be coming from.
Bridie, have you ever heard anything like this before?
Never.
Remember what Granny Stewart said? Evil men whispering in the darkness, and others sobbing and crying.
Oh, for goodness sake, Jake, there must be some natural explanation. Listen. It's gone.
What on earth could it have been?
I don't know. But take it from me, you two, it was nothing supernatural. Come on, let's get back to the cottage. We'll find out about this if it's the last thing we do.
We didn't say anything about the voices to Mr. O'Neill or Granny Stewart. And next day we had something else to think about. Billy Hackett brought us a letter from Professor Walters saying he'd like to see us at the station. The professor was sitting behind a desk with two other men beside him. A tall, thin, smiling chap with a fair moustache who was Flight Lieutenant Harry Carmichael, and Roderick McIntyre, the chief engineer, a big, dark man about 50 who looked surly and unfriendly.
And now that we have introduced ourselves, Mr. Thompson, we should like to ask you and your brother a few questions, with a view to establishing your identity and the purpose of your visit here.
But I've already told you that...
Quite. In the circumstances, however, verbal evidence is not enough. Our work here is of such a nature that security must be complete until the last possible moment.
Well, I think, Professor, we can take it that they are brothers, or at any rate, close relatives. The resemblance is quite marked.
I agree, Harry. McIntyre, have you anything to say on this?
Nothing, except that if this one is only 21 as he says, he looks older and more experienced.
Tony's a famous singer. He's been working hard since he was 18.
Well, the point is, can your brother prove that he is Tony Thompson?
I don't know. Oh, yes, wait a minute. I've got a letter here from my agent. There.
Yeah, seems genuine.
If they came here to spy on us, a letter like this would be an elementary precaution.
Oh, what absolute rubbish. Jake and I are here on holiday and...
I tell you what. Bridie O'Neill has some records of Tony's. Why not compare the voices?
That's an idea.
It would certainly clinch the matter of identity.
He could be Tony Thompson and still remain a spy.
Oh, but this is fantastic. How on earth could we be spies when we don't even know what you're doing here? Besides, do you think we have deliberately wrecked our boat and risked our lives to make a landing?
It's the only way you could have made a landing.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, you see, in the ordinary course of events, if you'd just come sailing into the bay, for instance, we'd have sent you away at once, on government authority. As it was, you had a perfect alibi for getting ashore.
An alibi?
Hackett has made it quite clear that the anchor is missing and that the cable did snap. But then, similar accidents have been stage managed before now.
I'm flabbergasted. The whole thing's ridiculous. Do you mean Hackett's been, what do you call it, screening us?
Of course. Don't pretend to be so naive.
But my goodness, what about this lump on my head? Do you imagine Tony bonked me one just to make it look more realistic?
Oh, you talk too much, Sabonia.
I beg your pardon, Mr. McIntyre. If it comes to the bit, none of you have any right at all to question private citizens in the way you're doing.
You're perfectly right, of course, up to a point. But we are under strict orders from the government. We appreciate your cooperation so far, and I want you to believe that the questions we put are for your own good as much as for ours.
Exactly. Now, as soon as we're convinced of your good faith, well, then we can
We could become friends.
Why pander to them? Like all youngsters of the present generation, they've far too big an opinion of themselves. Crooners.
I think we can proceed, Mr. Thompson. Now then, I believe you sailed your boat from Leith up round the Pentland Spur and down the west coast.
That's right.
Did you call in anywhere?
Yes, at Aberdeen, Wick, Ullapool, and Tobermory to buy food and petrol.
We can use the radio telephone to check up, you know.
Check if you like. We've nothing to hide.
Where do you live in Edinburgh?
Castle Terrace.
Both of you?
Yes.
And I have your agent's address here. What school does your brother attend?
Harriet.
If you ask old Beaky Brown, he'll not give me a very good character, I'm afraid.
Why not?
I blew off his moustache once. An accident in the lab.
Such things happen, even in the best regulated laboratories. It's happened here. Well, unless my colleagues have any further questions, I think that's all. Harry?
No questions. I'm inclined to believe them.
McIntyre?
They're a confounding nuisance, in my opinion. I'll keep an open mind and we'll check the story.
Right. By the way, Mr. Thompson, how are the repairs going?
Well, I reckon we can leave tomorrow. And we were hoping you'd let us have a few gallons of petrol.
Just to take us back to Tobermory.
Aye.
I bet you'll be glad to see us gone.
On the contrary, we've made arrangements with Mr. O'Neill that you should remain as his guests for another 10 days.
What?
It's not because we're eager for your company, I can assure you that.
But we can't. We just can't wait for another 10 days. Look, I've got a recording session a week tomorrow.
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Thompson. At the same time, we must insist that you remain here until the 21st of the month.
But why? What's going on here?
When we verify your story, we'll probably tell you.
But why?
But I must warn you. Meantime, my men will be watching every move you make. That was part 2 of Angus McVicker's adventure serial, Satellite 7, produced in the Scottish studios of the BBC. The BBC presents Satellite 7, an adventure serial in 8 parts by Angus McVicker. The storyteller is 15-year-old Jake Thompson. Part 3, Counter Spies.
When my brother Tony and I were shipwrecked on the Hebridean island of Shuna, we found strange buildings and even stranger people. Fergus O'Neill, the Irish playwright, and his daughter Bridie, and Granny Stewart, who told us of ghostly voices whispering in the dark. Also a group of scientists under Professor Max Walters, who informed us politely but firmly that we must not leave the island. The next morning, sitting beside our stranded boat, Tony gave Bridie and me his views on the situation.
Well, then, let's face it. There's something peculiar going on in Shuna. Something very peculiar.
You can say that again.
You don't mean just at the station.
I don't mean just at the station, Bridie. Well, that big rocket in the middle tower is peculiar enough in itself. I mean the way everybody is suspicious about everybody else.
I know. It didn't used to be like this.
Do you know what I think?
No, tell us.
It's how they acted yesterday. Professor Walters and Harry Carmichael and Roderick McIntyre. They're nervous, all on edge. I think they know that there's a spy on Shuna.
Oh, no.
And they're afraid we might be his accomplices. It's a cert, if you ask me.
Yes, I agree with you, Jake.
Tony, a spy? Who could it be? And what is it to spy
It
on?
could be anyone, that's the trouble. And if Professor Walters is putting up a special kind of rocket, say on the 21st of the month, the date he mentioned, information about his scientific methods might be very useful to a foreign country.
Gracious goodness, I never thought of that.
I bet it's the answer all the same.
And if we're to be prisoners here until the 21st, my idea is that we should do a spot of spying on our own. Try to find out who the spy is.
Yes, but have we anything to work on? Any clues, I mean?
Seems to me that the voices we heard may have something to do with it.
Yes, and we might get more information on that point from Granny Stewart. Look, I suggest that's a job for you, Jake. You seem to be one of her favorites.
Okay, then. I'll help her with the dishes after lunch. That should give us half an hour alone together. judging from how keen you and Bridie are about washing up.
Now, that's enough from you, my precocious infant. Come on, we've got to do work in the boat. That rudder column, it needs a new washer, and a bit of grease here and there won't do it any harm.
Oh, my. It's such a pleasure to do the dishes when somebody is drying them.
Granny, remember what you told me 3 nights ago about the voices?
Oh, I wasn't meaning anything. Don't be paying any heed to my blathers.
We heard them too, you know.
What? You heard them?
Yes, Tony and Bridie and I, at the top of the cliff the night before last.
Oh, dear me. And the wailing and the sobbing, too.
The wailing and the sobbing, too. It gave us a bit of a shock, I can tell you.
When did it happen? What time of night?
I'd say about 10 o'clock.
Yes. That was when I heard them. The sad and terrible whisperings of people in pain.
Granny, where were you at the time? I mean, were you at the top of the cliff?
Oh, no, my dear. I was on the shore with the cliff above me.
How long did the whisperings go on?
Oh, I didn't wait to hear. I hurried home to the cottage as fast as I could. I told nobody, not even Mr. O'Neill.
Granny, you warned Tony and me that we should go away, remember?
I remember.
Well, we can't go now, even if we wanted to. Professor Walters says we must stay here for another 10 days, until the 21st of the month.
The 21st. I've heard them speak of the 21st. Mr. O'Neill and Billy Hackett. Something is going to happen that day. Something strange and terrible.
What is going to happen?
I don't know, my dear. But they talk of it in low voices when they think I'm not listening. I just don't know.
Well, I don't go in for Scotch music as a rule, but that bagpipe stuff gives me a pain. That was different, though. Thanks for letting me hear it.
Oh, yes, it's lovely, too.
That was my very first record. I made it about 2 years ago. I was as nervous as a kitten.
Do you think, Billy, it'll convince the professor and his pals that Tony's a genuine article?
Oh, between you and me and this here record player, I reckon they're already convinced. After all those inquiries I made by radio telephone, this ought to settle it, though, I'd say. This disc, I mean. I'll take care of it, Miss Bridie, and the professor says thanks for the lend of it.
Oh, he's welcome. But has he anything to play it on?
Oh, he's a player of his own up there, real posh it is. Well, I suppose I'll better be on my way.
Oh, Billy, wait a minute. It's early yet. It's only 9 o'clock.
The professor said he'd like to try out his disc tonight, though.
Oh, well, there's plenty of time. You told us he and Mr. McIntyre never go to bed until after midnight.
They don't. Not until a long while after. I've seen them often. Out on moonlight walks round the island. 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe. And all for the good of their health, or so they say.
Billy, there's something we want to ask you.
What's that?
What's all the mystery? What's going on up there at the station?
Eh? Going on? What do you mean?
Oh, it's rocket research. We know that, of course. But is there anything special on the program? Any unusual kind of experiment, for instance, on or about the 21st?
Now, look here, Tony. I'm only a fitter. Commoner gardener, as you might say. I'm not in the confidence of his nibs up there, you know.
But you must know something. To begin with, what about that big rocket in the middle tower?
What about it, Jake? The rocket I helped to build, that's all.
Granny Stewart says she overheard you and Father talking about the 21st.
Maybe it's my birthday, eh, Brian?
Oh, come off it, Billy. We don't want you to give away any technical secrets, of course, but we'd like some idea of what's going on.
Be a sport, Billy. What's all this security stuff in
Now, wait a second. I told you I'm only a fitter. But if it was left to me now, I'd tell you everything. Straight I would. I reckon you're on the level, but the eggheads, they don't trust you, not yet. And after all, they've got the whip hand.
I suppose you're right, Billy.
Of course I'm right, Miss Bridie. And I hope there ain't no hard feelings.
Oh, of course.
No hard feelings.
That's fine. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll be on my way. I think I can promise you this. When his nibs hears this record, he'll be in a good mood to tell you about everything himself. Well, I'll be seeing you. Hello.
Good night,
Bye-bye,
Billy.
Billy.
When Billy had gone, Tony and I told Bridie that we were going down to the shore to inspect the boat. Actually, we intended to have a look at the big cliff from where Granny Stewart had heard the voices. We found a convenient boulder and crouched in its shadow.
If these voices are really important, Jake, we may be lucky enough to spot something. We heard the whispering up yonder at the top, and Granny heard it down here.
And you think the answer may be found somewhere halfway up?
Yes. They seem to be coming out of the air. But I've been thinking it over. You see those cracks and fissures in the cliff running upwards through the rock? Well, I think that... What is it?
Listen.
Somebody's coming.
Can you make out who it is?
All I can make out is somebody moving against the shadow of the cliff. Oh, it's so dark we'll never be able to identify him unless he comes closer.
He stopped.
Having a look about him. Keep still.
Maybe a she, for all we know.
Even one of Granny Stewart's ghosts, eh?
Get a grip, Tony.
He's moving on. Away from us.
Tony, did you see that? It disappeared straight into the face of the cliff.
There's an opening there. Not a proper opening, just a kind of split in the rock.
You're right. What on earth can he be doing?
I have a theory.
Well, what do we do in the meantime?
We'll stay where we are and see what happens. The main thing is not to let him suspect he's being watched. One thing anyway, he was obviously taking precautions against being seen.
Was he the spy, do you think?
It's possible. But of course, until we know exactly what's going on at the station, we can't be sure about anything.
You're telling me. Except that it's getting dashed cold behind this rock.
Wait a minute. Listen.
Golly, the voices.
Yeah. But not so loud as 2 nights ago at the top. My theory's working out, Jake.
You mean you know what's causing it?
I think so.
Why don't you tell me?
Well, I'd rather show you.
Oh, you're hopeless. Gosh, listen to that. No wonder Granny Stewart was scared.
Look away up there.
What? In the cliff face?
Yes, to the left of that outcrop of rock, like a man's head.
Where? Oh, yes. By golly, it's a glimmer of light.
Somebody in there with a torch, I think.
Looks like it. They've stopped, Tony.
I know. And the light's gone out, too.
So it has. Then that
Keep
means...
quiet now. I'd say our friend will be coming back out in a minute or two.
Maybe we'll be lucky and see his face.
I doubt it, not in this light. Keep your eyes skinned all the same, Jake.
There he is. Coming out now. He's having his usual look around.
If only he'd come out of that shadow so that we could see him properly.
He's going back along the shore towards the grassy ridge.
Jake, isn't there something familiar about the way he walks?
I don't know. I can't be too sure.
Anyway, he's gone now. Look, we'll wait here for another few minutes just to make certain that the coast is clear. Then we'll go in and explore that cliff.
Okay.
And if we don't find the explanation for those voices, remind me to have my head examined.
It's a good thing we brought torches, Tony. The floor of this tunnel's a mass of loose stones.
Mind you don't twist your ankle.
Don't worry. Seems to be leading upward.
Well, what did you expect?
I didn't know what to expect. You're the expert.
This is becoming quite a climb, eh?
You're telling me.
Take care going through here. It's a bit narrow, this corner.
If you can get through, I'll manage.
That's it. We seem to be on the level again.
Thank goodness. The last bit was quite steep. The tunnel's opening out, too.
It certainly is. Into a big cave. I say, this must be it, Jake.
There's a table over there. And a chair. And gosh, a radio set.
I thought as much. Come on.
It's not only a receiver, it's a transmitter as well.
Oh, I noticed. Works off a battery. Wait a minute. There you are. Static. Granny Stewart's lost soul.
What I'm blowed. But the whispering...
No message coming through at the moment.
See, I see what you mean.
Look up there, Jake. A crack in the solid rock running up to the top of the cliff. And yonder, see to the left. That's the opening we saw the light through. The sounds in here coming through the radio went echoing out through these openings, magnified and distorted. See? Get it?
I'd never have thought of it.
This must be the spy's hideout for sending and receiving messages. Information about the rocket station and... what's that you've got, Jake?
It's a dusty wee bit of paper. I found it lying under the table. Let's see. I think it's a page from a diary pad. You know, the kind businessmen have on their desk.
Let me see. Oh, yes. Something written on it, too, in block capitals. Last message, 2300 hours, August 21st. Rendezvous, small boat. McCrimmon's Rock.
11 o'clock at night on the 21st. That must be how he plans to make his getaway. A vessel lying offshore and a small boat coming in to take him off.
Looks like it.
McCrimmon's Rock. Where's that?
Half a mile south of where we came ashore. A big flat boulder like a pier. Say, Dick, this page from a diary. Have you noticed the printed heading?
The Irish Provident Assurance. Old Key, Dublin.
Remember? Last night in Mr. O'Neill's room? The pad in his desk.
Yes, this might be a page from it.
Or from one exactly similar.
Oh, but Mr. O'Neill and Bridie are...
Wait. Wait a minute.
What?
Over there. In the corner beyond the table.
What's on it?
That slab. There's something beneath it in the hollow rock. Come on, let's see if we can lift it, Jake.
Right, Tony.
Come on now. Again.
It's too heavy, Tony. It won't budge.
It seems like it.
But I can just see it on the edge.
Yeah?
It's a black box, I think. But why should the spy put a clock inside it?
A clock? Jake, run for your life. It's a time bomb!
That was part 3 of Angus McVicker's adventure serial Satellite 7, produced in the Scottish studios of the BBC. The BBC presents Satellite 7, an adventure serial in 8 parts by Angus McVicker. The storyteller is 15-year-old Jake Thompson. Part 4, The Launching Bay.
Was there a spy on Shuna finding out about the rocket base? What was the meaning of the whispering voices and the paper we found in the cave headed Irish Provident Assurance, Dublin? When Tony and I found the transmitter set in the cave, we thought we had found all the answers. Then suddenly we heard a sinister ticking.
A black box beneath the boulder.
Stuck there, too. But why should the spy put a clock inside it?
A clock? Jake, it's a time bomb. Get back down the tunnel for your life. It may go off at any minute. Mind the narrow corner.
It seems to be even narrower this time.
Come on, Jake. Hurry up, for goodness sake.
Sorry, I can't get through. I'm stuck.
Oh, no. Stand sideways and push. Push, Jake, push.
My shoulder's jammed against this rock.
Wait, Jake, wait. Ease yourself back. This way. That's it. Now, turn sideways.
That's better. That's it, Tony.
Good.
I'm through. But can you make it?
Of course, I can make it. It's not so bad now. We're not in the direct line of an explosion. But keep going, Jake. We'll be safer still outside on the sand.
We're nearly there.
Down, Jake, down!
Ah.
All right, Jake?
I think so. What about you?
Okay. Oh, lucky we got round that bend in time, eh?
Another minute up there and would have been killed. Why did he do it? The spy, I mean. Plant a time bomb?
It all adds up, Jake. He sent out his last message before the 21st. Presumably he got his final instructions. He wanted to destroy all the evidence.
But people are bound to have heard those explosions.
Well, I don't know. They weren't all that loud. And if anyone does ask questions, the simple answer could be a fall of rock inside the cliff. Come on, Jake. I think the danger's past. The sooner we get back to the cottage, the better.
Okay. What did Bridie say when she hears about this?
You think we should tell her?
What?
Well, in the circumstances, I mean.
Well, perhaps not.
Well, I think we ought to keep this to ourselves, for the moment at any rate. If we'd started shooting off our necks about a spy, we might find ourselves in serious trouble in more ways than one. Oh, well, there's the mouth of the tunnel, thank goodness.
The moon's still shining.
Oh, it is. Take it easy for a minute. We don't want to be spotted coming out.
It's all quiet, Tony. As far as I can see.
Yes. Yes, I think we can risk it now. The shingle's nice and gentle on the feet after all that loose rock in there.
Good to smell the sea and the fresh air, too. Are we going straight back to the cottage?
No, I think we ought to have a quick look at the boat first, in case we're asked about it. Then a guarded word with Mr. O'Neill seems to be indicated. Come on, Jake.
And quite honestly, Father and I were beginning to wonder if we'd got lost. Granny went to bed, so I just stepped to supper here in Father's room.
Brady was hungry, that was the trouble. We were on the point of eating by ourselves when you came in.
Oh, we didn't realize it was so late. But these crab sandwiches were well worth waiting for.
They're super. You don't deserve them, staying out till this time of night. More tea, Jake. Yes, please.
That's the kind of dictatorship I have to put up with. Well, one learns to live with it.
Oh, there's need a dictator to run their lives for them. They're so woolly-headed otherwise. Here's your cup, Jake.
Oh, thanks, Bertie.
How did you find the boat, by the way?
Oh, grand. Billy's done a great job.
One more strip of wood should finish it.
We could sail away any time if we were allowed. I can't make out all this about waiting until after the 21st.
Neither can I. Father, do you know anything about it?
I do, but I'm not at liberty to go into details. In the meantime, at any rate.
Oh, you mean you can't say anything until Tony and Jake have been investigated?
That's it, more or less, but... don't let's go into awkward questions. Bridie and I spent some of the last hour playing your records, Tony. I've heard them before, of course, but now that I've actually met you, I think I enjoyed them even more than ever.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Mr. O'Neill.
What's that? The front door, I think.
Who on earth can it be at this time of night? I'll go, Bridie. Granny Stewart's in bed.
Surely Granny went to bed very early.
I know she had a headache, she said.
Are you sure she did go to her room? What? How do you mean?
Hold it. Here he comes.
Oh, it's Flight Lieutenant Carmichael, the guard commander at the station.
Oh, hello, Harry. This is a surprise.
Hello,
It's
Harry.
ages since you've been to see us.
I'm on a special mission tonight. Evening, chap.
Harry's brought you good news, boys.
That's right.
The professor believes in at last.
That's it. And here's your record. Return herewith. There we are, Bradley.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, we'd pretty well made up our minds. All reports from the mainland were entirely favorable, but over the sea to sky, that clinched it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Jake and I are very pleased, naturally.
You
bet.
bet.
Do sit down, Harry.
Bless you, Fergus. Mind if I smoke a cigarette?
Not at all. Have one of mine.
Oh, bless you. Go on. Thanks. Yes, I thought I'd come and tell you the result right away. The professor and Mr. McIntyre are extremely busy, although they might have come too.
Oh, it's very kind of you, Mr. Carmichael. But I take it that we're still prisoners here until the 21st.
Well, shall we leave the answer to that till tomorrow?
Why, tomorrow?
The professor's invited you both to visit the station in the afternoon. And you too, Bridie, if you would like to come.
Oh, gracious goodness, of course I'll come.
He thinks you might be interested in what's going on up there.
Oh, that's an understatement.
It certainly is. Thanks, Lieutenant Carmichael.
That's all right. Matter of fact, you're probably going to get quite a surprise.
And that's another understatement. But look here. Don't I come into this at all?
Oh, sorry, Fergus, of course, yes. We've been rather on edge, as you know, but... Well, things have changed in the past few days.
I see.
Oh, by the way, just in case you have any trouble getting past my men at the gate, I'll make out a comprehensive pass. You got any paper, Fergus?
Yes. Just wait a minute. Here's a page from my diary, Pat.
Lovely.
Will this do?
Just the job. Now, I may not be on the spot when you arrive. And, I think this ought to save a lot of argument. That's it. I think you'd better take charge of this, Tony.
Oh, thanks, sir. We're all looking forward to this, I can tell you.
Oh, you bet.
By the way, Fergus, while on the subject of diary pads, many thanks for sending that bundle up to the station. We found them very useful.
It's my insurance company. They give me about a dozen every year when I pay my premium. Salving their conscience, I shouldn't wonder.
Well, we're very grateful anyway. Well, it's getting late. I'm sure you people want to get to bed, so I'll just toddle off now.
I'll go part of the way with you. It's a lovely night.
Oh, right, fine. Oh, by the way, did any of you hear a strange, rumbling sort of noise down by the cliff about an hour ago?
No, I can't say that I did.
No, we were in here, Father and I, playing Tony's records. We didn't hear a thing.
Oh. Probably just a fall of rock. I happened to be inspecting the guard post at the time. Otherwise, I don't suppose I should have noticed it either. Well, good night, all. See you tomorrow afternoon.
Good night, Harry.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Don't be too long, Father.
I'll be back in a few minutes. But don't wait up if you feel like going to your bed.
Boy, we're going to solve one mystery at least tomorrow afternoon.
I wonder what Professor Walters has been holding up his sleeve.
Well, that remains to be seen. Oh, a date on television was never as exciting as this.
Now, this is the launching bay where we fire the rockets and controlled our flight. Mostly underground, of course, with 1,000 tons of concrete above our heads as protection in case of accident. We watch each takeoff in this periscope mirror.
Oh, it's like the bridge of about 10 battleships rolled into one.
Oh, it's terrific. Professor Walters, how on earth do you keep track of all these instruments?
We have at least a dozen men at the dials, all transmitting information to Mr. McIntyre here, who sits beside me at the deck. Well, operations up to date have been comparatively simple. A matter of checking logistics. When that big rocket out there goes off, it'll be different.
Father Gotter, he'd love to see this.
Didn't he stop to speak to Hackett in the main workshop?
Oh, I believe he did. Billy wanted to show him some scale models.
Professor, speaking about that big rocket, Lieutenant Carmichael said you were going to tell us what's going on here.
I know. Rash of me, perhaps.
I mean, we know about your experiments, but we've come to the conclusion that you're planning something else. Something pretty big.
I told you, Professor. They're as curious as a bunch of cats around a fish basket. Well, it can't do any harm to tell them now. Look, sit down, all of you. Here, at the desk.
All right, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Professor.
Okay, this is what we've been waiting for.
Now, Roderick, have we the original chart summarizing the whole operation? Yes, here we are. This should put them in the picture.
But I can't make head or tail of it.
What can I?
You will in a moment. Now, as you know, several Earth satellites have been launched to date. None of them from here, incidentally. They've all been rather insignificant, I'm afraid. But now it's our turn to make the headlines. In short, we are planning to be the first country to send a satellite round the moon and bring it back again.
God, round the moon.
Satellite 7, we call it. And this lonely island was chosen as its launching ground for security reasons. We have an idea it'll give some other countries a surprise of their lives.
So, this is a drawing of the satellite's course?
Exactly.
It leaves the Earth in a big spiral. This line here shoots off around the moon and comes back again, slanting in through the Earth's atmosphere.
Aye, you've got it. Now, we've already brought part of a rocket back to Earth under full control all the time. It landed within 17 feet of where we calculated it would, here on Chula.
Oh, that's incredible.
And that big rocket out there, is that the one you mean? Is that Satellite 7?
Well, to be more precise, Satellite 7 is the nose piece. The rocket's built in 3 stages, you see. But the satellite's large enough to contain about a dozen different instruments, including cine cameras to take pictures of the other side of the moon, the side we never see.
Golly, that'll certainly put us on the map if it comes off.
Why shouldn't it come off? Are you questioning our skill?
No, I'm sorry, Mr. McIntyre. I just meant if anything went wrong.
What would you expect to go wrong?
The point is, Mr. McIntyre, you thought at first that we were spies, or more correctly, the accomplices of a spy. That could only mean one thing. You're pretty well convinced there's a spy on this island.
You see, they were bound to spot. Young people nowadays are far too smart for their own good. Your inference is correct, Tony. We do suspect a spy. Little things, papers disarranged, a series of small accidents to our equipment. That is all we have to go on. But as you say, we're pretty well convinced.
So now you're waiting for the 21st to fire the big rocket.
That was to have been the day. But for all we know, a spy may have arranged for a foreign agent to forestall us. We've been working hard these past few days. Satellite 7 will be launched tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
At 1000 hours. If there is a spy, that ought to disrupt his schedule.
May we come and see what happens?
You must come. And stay undercover for safety reasons. Bridie knows. In any case, the whole operation, the journey out and the journey back, should be over in about 12 hours.
12 hours?
Surely that means a terrific escape velocity.
It does. Approximately 21 kilometers a second.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Not so fantastic when you consider that we're using an atomic motor for the second stage. The first of its kind, I believe, in existence.
I see.
Take another look at the chart. You see how the satellite will first swing round the Earth, gaining height all the time. Then it shades the first stage booster.
Professor! Mr. McIntyre! Come quick!
What is it, Hackett?
Something's happened. The timing apparatus next door.
What do you mean the timing apparatus? It was in perfect order when I saw it an hour ago.
Something wrong now, sir. Come on.
Right. That equipment was practically foolproof. I don't understand.
I was testing the valves. Routine, Mr. McIntyre, as you ordered.
Yes.
First stage control was okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I tried the second... Anyway, here we are, sir.
Stand back.
Oh, sorry, sir. Don't crowd in, Jake.
Right, Hackett. Let's try the first stage control.
Right, sir.
Nothing wrong with that? Cut it off.
Right, this here second stage. See? I'll cut it.
Switch off. What do you make of it, Roderick? Broken wire somewhere. An accident? Not in your life. Someone's heard our plans have been brought forward. He's trying to stall us.
Blimey. Sabotage.
Hackett, go and tell the foreman electrician I want to see him at once.
Right, sir. Then he can't...
What are the chances of getting this repaired in time? It depends, but I'm certain of one thing. There's a traitor here, maybe not so very far away from where we're standing now.
That was part 4 of Angus McVicker's adventure serial Satellite 7, produced in the Scottish studios of the BBC. The BBC presents Satellite 7, an adventure serial in 8 parts by Angus McVicker. The storyteller is 15-year-old Jake Thompson. Part 5, Late Night Rendezvous.
That afternoon in the launching bay, we solved one mystery. Professor Walters and his scientists were planning to send a rocket round the moon and bring it back again to Shuna. But we still didn't know who had tried to sabotage the timing apparatus, though luckily Roderick McIntyre soon discovered the fault and repaired it. That night, Tony and I went to bed early and lay talking to each other in the dark.
Another thing, Jake. Why were the professor and Roderick McIntyre so forthcoming this afternoon? Why did they confide in us? I mean, in their eyes, we were only kids, but they treated us like distinguished scientific visitors.
The professor wanted to make up for being so suspicious.
Well, maybe, but there was more to it than that. Why should he give us all the details of a top-secret operation?
Oh, I don't suppose he would have done if the launching date was still the 21st. But they're firing the rocket tomorrow at 1000 hours. It couldn't do any harm at this late stage.
Yes, you may be right there, too, but I don't know. I felt they had a definite purpose in telling us so much.
Oh, you're making a mystery out of nothing, Tony.
Now, look, Jake, motives are always a mixture. Nothing in this life is ever clean-cut black and white. The professor was probably trying to be friendly, but there was some other reason as well, I'm sure of it.
There's only one other possible reason.
What's that?
Well, he may have thought that by telling us about the launching at 10 tomorrow, he was also telling the spy.
Now you're talking, Jake. But what I can't understand is why he should want the spy to know. Whoever it is, the spy, he's desperate. He's already tried to sabotage the timing apparatus, and, well, when he knows the rocket's going off tomorrow, he may get more desperate still.
Maybe that's just it. The professor's trying to force his hand to make him act in too much of a hurry and give the show away.
Jake, has it occurred to you that the professor himself may be the spy? Or at any rate in league with the spy?
What? The professor?
Yes. Or McIntyre.
Gosh, but suppose you could be right.
Oh, anyway, we can't do much about it at the moment. Oh, it's nearly 1 o'clock in the morning. I vote we try a spot of shut-eye and we'll see what we can do.
Wait. What was that?
Sounded like the front door. Somebody going out.
At this time of night?
I'll have a look. You can just see the front path from this window, and there's a moon.
See anything?
Yes. Yes. It's Mr. O'Neill, heading for the high bank between the cliffs.
Brady says he often goes out for midnight walks when he stops writing.
Sure, but it might be a good idea to follow him and see exactly where he does go.
Tony, you don't mean that.
I don't mean anything. But as I said, it's up to us to give a sharp lookout, Jake. Come on, get your flannels and jersey on.
Okay, Tony.
If we go out by the window, nobody will hear us.
Right.
Hurry up, Jake. We don't want Mr. O'Neill to get too far ahead of us. Keep going, Jake. We're almost at the top.
Okay, Tony. Are you sure he went this way?
Pretty certain. I caught sight of his leather jacket a couple of minutes ago, glinting in the moonlight going over the top. Oh, here we are. Oh, there are the lights of the station.
Phew, warm. No engine tonight, Tony.
I noticed that. It's like a sleeping beast gathering its strength.
Yes. Tony, Yonder he is, going downhill, about 100 yards in front.
Yes, heading for the station. I thought we'd spot him from here. Come on.
It's a queer direction to be going for a midnight walk.
That remains to be seen.
We can't be going in. The guards would stop them.
It depends. Wait. Look, he's not going in. He's turning right, see? Towards the rocks above the cliff.
So he is.
Easy now, Jake. He may spot us if we get any closer.
Okay. Wait, he stopped. Beside that big boulder.
Hold it. Yes. Yes, you're right. Get down, quick. This tuft of heather will do. Come on.
He seems to be waiting for something.
Or somebody.
Oh, yes.
I thought so. Yonder, see? Coming up the slope from the station.
What? Golly, it's Billy Hackett.
It's Billy, all right.
But what does it mean? Mr. O'Neill and Billy meeting here at 1:30 in the morning?
Your guess is as good as mine, Jake. Look, we'll try and wriggle forward towards that clump of winds over there, see? We might be able to hear them better from there.
Right.
Shh. Be careful, Jake, for goodness sake.
Sorry, it was a loose twig. I didn't see it.
They don't seem to have heard. Come on. We're almost there. Easy does it. Right. We're quite hidden here among the winds.
Oh, I'm all prickles already.
Oh, be your age, Jake. Can you hear anything?
Not a thing.
Oh, the wind's in the wrong direction for a start. What's that Billy's doing?
Handing something over. Mr. O'Neill's put it in his pocket.
Looked like an envelope to me.
I think it was an envelope. Golly, they're coming this way.
Billy must be walking part of the way back with them. Not a sound.
What's more, Mr. O'Neill, he don't suspect a thing. Honest, he don't.
I hope you're right. Now that the launching's been put forward, we've got to work fast.
Look, what about facing up to him?
Too risky. We can't afford to make a mistake.
But that note I gave you...
We need more than that. But remember, the important thing is to change the ammunition.
Sure, leave that to me. But you have your own gun handy, just in case, eh?
Don't worry. But there's another thing, Billy. It's been tightening me a lot.
Tony, do you hear that?
I certainly did.
We've got to work fast, Mr. O'Neill said. Gosh, I just can't believe it.
Believe what?
Mr. O'Neill and Billy are the spies. I mean, they're both so decent and friendly. And then there's Bridie.
Oh, spies are always decent and friendly. It's part of their camouflage. What makes you think that Mr. O'Neill and Billy are the spies?
You heard them, didn't you? About the ammunition and the gun.
I know, but... Have they gone?
There's not a sign of them. What do we do now?
Wait here in the winds for another 10 minutes.
Well, do we have to? It's pretty uncomfortable. Are we going to tell the professor about what they were saying?
Oh, I still think the least said soonest mended, Jake. We don't want to complicate things, especially for Professor Walters. He'll have enough to worry him by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
But they've given themselves away, and Mr. O'Neill and Billy... Oh!
What's wrong?
The winds. They're prickly.
Oh, never mind that. Look, Jake, I think I've worked it out. I think I know who it is.
The spy, you mean?
Yes. Make yourself as comfortable as possible for a minute, and I'll explain. You'll forget all about the prickles when I tell you something.
What Tony said convinced me all right. It also convinced me that the whole business was very tricky. If we spoke out of turn, we might upset everything, including the launching of Satellite 7. We went back to the cottage and got into our room again by way of the window. Strangely enough, after all the excitement, we both went to sleep at once. But at 4 o'clock in the morning...
Who's that? Me, O'Neill. Get up quickly. A message has just come from the station.
A message?
One of the guards brought it. 0 hour has been changed again.
Golly!
Come on, up you get, Jake.
What's
the rocket
that?
now goes off at 6 o'clock.
4 hours earlier than we thought.
So that's why the professor spoke so frankly yesterday afternoon. You were right, Jake.
He must have known it all the time it would be 6 o'clock.
Aye, boy.
He made all his calculations.
Exactly, I quite agree. I think he wanted to surprise him.
Wait a minute, just put my shoe on. There. Right, Mr. O'Neill.
Good.
We're ready now.
Now, we have to report to the luncheon bay by 5:30 at the latest. Granny and Bridie are making some breakfast for us in the kitchen.
Come away, Miss Bridie. You're not eating a thing.
I'm not hungry, Granny.
Oh, I know it's early to be having breakfast, but it may be a long time before we get another decent meal. The last time we were up at the station for our luncheon, all we got was a cup of tea. I'm sure you remember.
Oh, I do remember, but this is different.
She's still half asleep. Isn't that the trouble, Bridie?
No, it isn't, Father. It's just that I can't help thinking of that big rocket. What if something goes wrong?
Even if it does go wrong, Bridie, we'll be all right. Under all that concrete.
I shouldn't worry. If there's any kind of failure near the ground, there are special precautions. Walter's told me so himself. An atomic explosion is impossible until the motor comes into action in the stratosphere. By then it will be too high to do any harm.
Your father was talking sense, dear. When the scientists came to Shuna at first, I was like you, worried and anxious about the things I didn't know about. The rockets and the strange engines that wail and screech like banshees in the dark. But my daughters and my son wrote to me explaining all about it, and I decided I was foolish to be worrying. I put my trust in Providence, Miss Bryce.
Oh, I know that's how I should feel, Granny, but I'm not so much afraid of getting hurt. What I'm really afraid of is that the whole thing will be a terrible failure, and all the other countries will make fun of us.
Somehow I don't think Professor Walters is going to fire a dud. If you remember, he was in charge of our first 3 launchings. He hasn't had a failure yet.
Gosh, just think of it, Mr. O'Neill. In another 12 hours or so, by 6 o'clock this evening, we may be looking at pictures of the hidden side of the moon.
Maybe they'll show traces of old buildings, remains of a vanished civilization.
I shouldn't think so for 1 minute, Jake. Most astronomers seem to think that both sides of the moon are alike. Dry, cratered plains of powdered pumice stone.
Oh, well, and what does it matter anyway? It's not the moon that's important. It's that ordinary folk should have the courage to reach out for it.
Now, there you are. There speaks the true philosopher. Oh, my goodness, look at the time. Here, we'll have to move on.
Oh, well, come on then, Bridie. We better get the table.
Come on, Jake.
Yes,
We'll collect our things in the bedroom. Come on.
Okay, Tony. Okay, Tony. Tony, can't we do something?
About the spy, you mean?
Yes. Anything may happen before 6 o'clock.
Easy now, Jake, easy. I told you the spy suspects nothing. And when the rocket does go off at 6 o'clock, there may be a big surprise in store for... You know who I mean.
That was part 5 of Angus McVicker's adventure serial Sattelite 7, produced in the Scottish studios of the BBC. The BBC presents Satellite 7, an adventure serial in 8 parts by Angus McVicker. The storyteller is 15-year-old Jake Thompson. Part 6, 0 Hour.
We got to the launching bay at 5:30. Professor Walters and Roderick McIntyre were checking instruments and papers and giving orders to a crowd of white-coated scientists. Lieutenant Carmichael stood at the main door, glancing at his wristwatch. We took our places on a bench behind the desk, Granny and Bridie and Mr. O'Neill and Tony and I. And suddenly, at 5:45... Oh,
dear me. What's that?
All right, Granny. Just a warning, I expect.
It sounds evil. Like the evil around us.
Oh, here's Harry. He'll tell us.
Okay, not to worry. That's a signal for everybody who's not immediately concerned with the launching to take cover, including my own men.
Do you men come here too?
No, they use the safety bunker behind the dome, along with the maintenance bank. My sergeant's in charge, and he'll be rounding up all the odd bodies now. Then when the final warning goes at 5 to 6, he'll call the roll and report to me here. Right, I've got to check the numbers here in the launching bay. I'll come back and watch the takeoff.
Fine. Well, we'll see you later.
Right.
Oh, here's Mr. McIntyre.
Morning. I hope you youngsters are prepared to sit quietly and not make nuisances of yourselves.
We certainly will,
sir. In fact, you ought to have gone to the safety bunker. But for some reason, the professor wants you to see the takeoff.
It's very kind of him, sir.
Kind? Soft's the word I'd use. However, the operations begin in, we'll see, 13 minutes. I'll leave you in charge, Mr. O'Neill.
Right.
Now, as you can well understand, the first few minutes of the flight require intense concentration as far as the professor and I are concerned. We shouldn't like to be disturbed by over-enthusiastic spectators.
I know. You can take it that we'll remain strictly in the background.
Good. Hackett? Are you there, Hackett?
Yes, sir.
Come here a minute.
Yeah.
All right, next door?
Everything in order, sir. All set.
Good. Keep your eye on the timing apparatus, will you?
Okay, sir.
All right.
Oh, good morning, all.
Morning.
A moment of history, eh?
Oh, it certainly
We've
is.
just had a severe talking to by Mr. McIntyre.
He reminds me of one of my masters, old Bicky Brown.
Just his way. Oh, better get back to my job, keeping an eye on the timing apparatus. Don't need more accidents, eh?
Billy,
Yes, Mr. O'Neill.
did you, do what was necessary?
Sure, everything under control.
Good.
We're 11 minutes to go. Will you ever be in time, do you think?
Why did you say that, Brady?
Well, everybody seems to be rushing about quite aimlessly.
Last-minute checks, I should imagine. Think of all the apparatus in that rocket. Turbines, atomizers, gyros, radio transmitters, cine cameras, all controlled from here. And if one electrical lead is faulty, well, the whole operation goes haywire.
Oh, Father, not another cigarette. You smoked dozens since breakfast.
Hark to our pocket dictator.
Well, it's for your own good. Just not far too many.
But this is a special occasion, and inclined to be wearing on the nerve.
Seems we're all accounted for in here. We'll be closing the shockproof door in a minute.
Sir, what about the others in the safety bunker?
Well, after the second warning, I'll ring through and find out. The phone's just here beside us.
Oh, Harry, aren't you terribly excited?
Well, yes, I suppose a bit. After all, this is the climax to a great deal of hard work. I wouldn't like to be the professor's shoes at this moment.
He looks pretty grim and determined.
In a minute, he'll be sitting here at the desk, he and McIntyre. Reports from the men at all the dials will come through in a constant stream. If the satellite deviates a yard off course, they'll know at once. And at the same time, mechanical reports will be fed into that... Over there, you see that big electronic machine in the corner? Reports on air pressures, temperatures, radiation, all that sort of thing. They're taken down on tape, just, as in a teleprinter.
This setup must have cost the earth.
Oh, I don't know. Not much more than a couple of hydrogen bombs.
There you are. This will be something for you young people to remember. And for you to tell your family about, Mrs. Stewart.
Oh, if I can find the words, Professor. I'm not good with words.
You're better than most of us, I think. As for you, Fergus, you wanted technical information for your play. Well, help yourself.
We're very grateful, indeed we are. Though we didn't expect quite such an early call.
No, sorry about that. But I had my reasons.
I see. Is everything satisfactory?
I think so. In about 8 minutes, we'll know for certain. Nobody missing, Harry?
All present and correct, sir. I'll ring the safety bunker in a minute.
Fine. Close the shockproof door, will you?
Right, sir. Second moment.
Roderick, are you there, Roderick?
Yes?
Everything's checked. Get the men in their places, please.
Right.
Oh, and leave the door to the secondary control room open. In the meantime, at any rate.
Very well.
7 minutes, men, in your places. Right, sir.
Aye, aye, sir. That's it, sir. We're closed in now.
How long does it last, sir, being shut in like this?
Oh, what? 15 minutes. By 6:10, the rocket should be well away. Most of the poisonous fumes will have dispersed.
I can see it up there in the periscope mirror. What a queer angle is that?
Yes, apparently that angle is important to guide it out into the proper ellipse.
Is it painted black? It looks like polished ebony from here.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? I think that outer skin is a sort of heat-resistant alloy. Black in itself. Before it gets clear of the Earth's atmosphere, the friction will be terrific, as you can imagine. And the temperature will rise to, about 800 degrees, I believe. And this alloy was specially prepared to withstand it.
Is the satellite made of it, too?
Well, that I can't say. I don't think so. At the moment, it's inside the cone of the second stage, and so it won't be subjected to the same friction.
What about the return journey, sir?
Well, I believe they've incorporated some sort of braking device, small jet engine or something, and it's planned to bring it down comparatively slowly from about 300 miles up.
Gracious, there it is again.
5 minutes to go, Mrs. Stewart.
It's all right, Granny. There's nothing to be afraid of. Everything is so strange. I'm sorry.
I only hope I can recreate this atmosphere on a stage. It's what I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Watch. Better ring the safety bunker.
Right.
Hello, Sergeant Lee. Good. All present? Oh, that's a relief. Yes, everything's in order here. I'll ring you again at 10:05. Right? Keep your heads down. Bye.
What news from the bunker, Harry?
Everybody inside, sir. And the shop doors are closed.
Good. Now, all we need is patience.
What happens next, Professor?
For another 2 minutes, absolutely nothing. After that, well, perhaps you'd like to know the sequence of events.
Gosh, yes.
Do you mind if I take notes?
Not at all. I'll try to use plain language.
Thanks.
You know, of course, that the rocket is in 3 stages.
Oh, yes, you told us.
Yeah, well, the first stage lifts to a height of about 40 miles. Slowly at first, then accelerating to about 3 miles per second. The motive power is a rocket motor fueled by a mixture of alcohol and liquid oxygen.
How do you get the motor started?
I have a button on the desk. An electrical impulse reaches the base of the rocket. I shall press this button at Z-20. 7 seconds later, you should see a burst of smoke and flame at the foot of the tower, and in another 13 seconds, the rocket begins to lift.
0 hour.
Exactly. About 2 minutes after that, it will have risen to a height of 40 miles, and the fuel in the first stage tanks will have burned out. Automatically, the first stage will fall away, and the atomic motor in the second stage will come into action.
You don't control that from here.
Not the starting of the atomic motor. That's automatic. Of course, if anything went wrong, we could destroy the whole rocket by a flick of a switch.
I see.
I hope to goodness nothing like that happens.
So do I, Bridie. The second stage flight occupies about a minute. This opens up and throws out the third stage satellite, like a stone from a catapult. From that moment, Satellite 7 will be traveling in space, controlled from here.
It's a stupendous operation. When you consider all that could go wrong...
Don't remind me, Fergus. And I'm afraid that mechanical failures are not my only anxiety.
Oh, what's that, Professor?
2 minutes to go, Mrs. Stewart.
I see.
All set, Professor. Z-2. Harry, stand by the bunker telephone. It was a mishap. Warn them at once. Okay. We may as well take our seats by the desk, Roderick. Very well.
And keep quiet, you three, as I told you.
Begin the count, please.
Right.
Quiet, everybody.
Z-115. Z-110.
Oh, I'll never be able to stand this.
Quiet, Bridie.
Z-60 seconds.
Circuit 1, please.
Circuit 1, contact. Minus 55.
First stage control, stand by.
First stage control, stand by. Minus 50. Minus 45.
First stage control, action.
Contact. Minus 40. Minus 35.
Circuit 2, please.
52, contact. Minus 30. Minus 25.
Emergency demolition, stand by. PD standing by.
22, 21, 20,
Now.
19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Rocket away, Professor. Good. Not a hitch so far. Follow it on the tracking screen, Fergus. Here, beside the desk. You'll also hear its height and velocity being called out from the dial.
5 miles, 0.23.
5 miles above the Earth, traveling at 0.23 miles per second.
Hull temperature going up, 415 degrees.
Just about right.
15 miles, 0.79.
It's now in the stratosphere, beyond the wind and clouds, beginning to spiral around the Earth.
Z-60, temperature 623.
Good. Bring them in the bunker, Harry. Tell them all goes well.
Right. 20 miles, 1.16.
Sergeant Lee? Yes, spectacular, wasn't it? The professor wants you to know that everything's going well. Right, we'll be opening up in stage 3.
30 miles, 2.10.
Putting on a spurt now, nearing the limits of the stratosphere.
Z+120, temperature 703.
703, yes, according to schedule.
35 miles, 2.77.
Golly, it's spinning now.
Second stage control, stand by.
Second stage control, standing by, sir.
Is this where the atomic motor comes in?
Yes, but don't worry, Bridie.
Emergency demolition. PD standing by, sir.
40 miles, 3.01. Z+136, 137, 138, 139, 140.
Second stage control, action.
Contact! First stage away, sir! Atomic motor in, sir. We've done it, by Jove, we've done it.
So it appears, Roderick. 1 more minute should prove it. Take note of the height and speed now, Bergen.
60 miles, 4.37.
It's incredible. It left the stratosphere, through the heaviside layer, into the ionosphere. Practically no air resistance at all.
Temperature 759.
Temperature ratio diminishing, you see.
100 miles, 5.64. 150 miles, 6.70. Z plus 170. Temperature 786.
Good. It's now in the Appleton layer, the last trace of atmosphere above the Earth. In a moment, it will be traveling in what amounts to a complete vacuum, and the temperature will go down.
Did you see a minute in the second stage, sir?
Approximately a minute. It depends.
200 miles, 8.73.
Gosh.
We've now reached the highest velocity ever attained by a rocket, as far as we know. The previous highest was 6.9 miles per second.
But you plan to make it go faster still.
Much faster. The principle of the catapult, remember. We've got to sling our satellite a distance of 240,000 miles.
250 miles, 10.30. Z plus 190. Temperature 630.
Don't look so frightened, Buddy. Everything's going all right.
I know. It's just excited I am.
300 miles, 12.27.
Telemeter permanent control, stand by.
BBC standing by.
Emergency demolition, stand by. ED standing by.
350 miles, 13.12. Z plus 200. Wait for it now. Second stage away, sir.
TPC, action.
BBC connect.
Hold her as she goes.
Hold it there. Get steady.
Cut second stage control.
Second stage out, sir.
Cut second one.
Second one out, sir.
Emergency demolition, stand down. ED standing down, sir.
Z plus 210. Phase 1 complete, Professor.
Yes, phase 1 complete. Gentlemen and ladies, may I say, Satellite 7 is now on a free orbit towards the moon.
That was part 6 of Angus McVicker's adventure serial, Satellite 7, produced in the Scottish studios of the BBC. The BBC presents Satellite 7, an adventure serial in 8 parts by Angus McVicker. The storyteller is 15-year-old Jake Thompson. Part 7, The Spy.
Satellite 7 was safely launched, and for a time, tension was relaxed. In the excitement, I had forgotten about the spy. But now I began to wonder, had Tony identified the wrong person? Granny Stewart and Bridie went back to the cottage with instructions to come back in the afternoon for the return journey of the satellite. Mr. O'Neill and Tony and I waited to see the scientists at work. At midday, the satellite had circled the moon, and the telemeter permanent control had caused its jets to kick it free again from the moon's gravity and direct it back to Earth. But at 1:10, something happened.
TPC still steady, sir.
Good. Roderick, why don't you drink your coffee and eat a sandwich at least?
No time. I'll eat this evening if all goes well.
Oh, too conscientious, man.
Just another weakness of the Scotch, you know.
What about the boys? And you, folks? Lunch is on at the canteen.
We'll stay here, sir, till the bitter end.
You bet.
He wouldn't miss a second of it.
Where's Harry?
Oh, in the secondary control room, sir, talking to Billy Hackett. I saw him about 5 minutes ago.
Excuse me, sir. Oscillation in TPC. What do you mean, oscillation? It's a kind of breaking up. Listen.
What do you think?
We're still holding her, but something's tending to push her off course. We got the same effect with the first rocket we launched when it struck a shower of meteors.
Could be.
That's getting worse.
Temperature 750 and rising, sir.
Almost twice what it ought to be.
Roderick, don't say we're going to fail now. If once we lose control, we may never regain
We
it.
haven't lost it yet. If it's a shower of meteors, it'll pass. If it isn't, Well, we may learn a thing or two in the next few minutes.
But how are you so sure that something has gone wrong?
The oscillation, Fergus. While the satellite maintains a proper course, within certain limits, that is, the telemeter control receives a steady signal from a built-in radio. But when she veers about, the signal oscillates, as is happening now.
I see.
We are holding the satellite on a powerful radar beam, which controls her flight by means of gyros and the jets. But now, something is battling against the influence of our radar.
If she was being struck by a meteor, sir, wouldn't it destroy her?
Any meteor bigger than a pinhead would go right through her, boy. When we talk of a meteor shower, we mean infinitely small particles of meteor dust.
I see.
The tiniest pebble traveling at speed would send our satellite spinning if it wasn't for the radar control.
I get it.
That's because she's moving in a vacuum.
Exactly.
Oscillation still violent, sir.
I can hear it.
Temperature 804.
Another 16 degrees and the metal will liquefy, Roderick.
You don't need to tell me.
But can't you do anything about it?
What the blazes do you think we can do at a distance of 230,000 miles?
Oh, sorry.
Actually, it may not be a meteor shower at all. The same reaction would occur if the satellite were flying through clouds of gas or had been caught in some kind of magnetic field.
Temperature 798. Going down, sir.
Better news, Roderick.
No change in the oscillation.
The temperature depends on the amount of friction, doesn't it?
Of course, don't ask idiotic questions.
Temperature 751. Still going down. Good. Whatever the trouble was, it's thinning out.
Steadying considerably, I'd say. We're winning, I think.
Temperature 630.
Going down rapidly now. In a minute or so, it should be back to normal.
Gosh, thank goodness.
What's up?
Oh, here's Lieutenant Carmichael.
Anything wrong, Professor? We saw you going into a huddle over the TBC, so I was sent to find out.
All right now, Harry. Temporary deviation in the satellite's course, probably caused by a meteor shower. But she's under control again.
Ah, good. Good show. The boys were getting a bit depressed, especially Billy Haggett. I'd better spread the glad news.
Temperature 576, sir. Cooling quickly, and the oscillation has gone. I think we can take it that the danger's over.
In the meantime, at any rate.
Yes. Come, Fergus. Won't you and the boys join me in a cup of tea in the canteen? Nothing very exciting should happen for another hour or so.
Yes, I'd like some tea. I'm sure the boys would, too.
Oh, yes, sir.
Please, Mr.
Good. I confess to having quite a thirst. You'll be standing by, Roderick?
I'll be standing by. No frivolous cups of tea for me until after 6 o'clock.
Typical Roderick.
We were back in the launching bay within 10 minutes. Satellite 7 was on her return journey, transmitting reams of information and carrying cine pictures of the hidden side of the moon. It was of the utmost importance that these should be landed safely. At 4 o'clock, Granny Stewart and Bridie rejoined us. At 5 o'clock, the satellite was only 29,000 miles away. At 5:30, she was approaching the atmosphere of the Earth, and I was beginning to wonder if the spy had decided, after all, to take no action.
Where's Hackett? Are you there, Hackett?
He's in the secondary control room. Here he comes, sir.
Yes, sir. I was checking the timing gear with Mr. McIntosh. Help Finderson here at the TPC. It's going to be a tricky business guiding her in. Very good, sir.
Come and keep tabs on the gyro control.
Right. When I write my memoirs like all the great men, this day'll have half a dozen chapters to itself. I look forward to that, Hackett. Are our guests comfortable?
Oh, yes.
Yes. What happens now, Professor?
We get ready to bring her in. As you can imagine, we have to slow her down considerably before she enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Otherwise she'll be burnt out.
Quite. I see you still have your basket, Mrs. Stewart.
Oh, yes, no one leaves my sandwiches, but Miss Brady's been explaining that you're all too busy to worry about food.
Too busy and too excited, perhaps.
I don't understand about the rocket, Professor, but I'm praying that you'll be successful and that great honor will come to Shuna. It'll be something for my grandchildren to tell their friends that their old granny was here when it all happened.
You're right there. And I've been thinking of the publicity for my new play. Scientific background is drawn from reality.
So no matter what happens, you and Jake may leave tomorrow, Tony. No more need for security.
I don't know if we're so keen on leaving now.
You bet we're not.
But how do you mean, sir, there's no more need for security?
We're in touch with the government. I've informed them of the launching by radio telephone, and they're issuing a statement after 6 o'clock tonight.
What happens if something goes wrong at the last minute?
That would be announced, too. The point is, every radar telescope in the world is trained on our satellite by now. The only secret that will remain is the detail of her construction.
But do you think the launching was a complete surprise?
I'm not sure. If the landing is successful, the prestige value to this country will be enormous.
Where do you intend it to land, sir?
Somewhere on the beach, beyond the towers. You notice that the periscope mirror is now trained in that direction.
Oh, yes, I did notice that.
We can't be entirely accurate, of course, but there's about 10 square miles of sand down there, and we're hoping that will give us sufficient latitude. And in the next 15 minutes or so, we should find out.
Gosh, it's terrific. I wouldn't have missed this for a dozen shipwrecks.
Everybody's here except Lieutenant Carmichael. Where's Harry, Professor?
We're going to have a word with his men, I think, and to make sure they're all in the safety bunker for the landing.
Oh, in that case, is there danger, Professor?
No real danger. But if the satellite were to disintegrate above the island, we'd be safer under cover, wouldn't we?
Yes, I see.
All set, Professor. Timing gear checked.
Thank you, Roderick. Stand by, will you? Here at the desk.
Right. And I'll warn you lot again. Keep quiet.
We'll do that, Yes, Mr. sir.
McIntyre. Well, I hope so indeed.
Gentlemen, your attention, please. As you all know from the instruments, Satellite 7 is now only 3,000 miles above the Earth, traveling towards us at approximately 40,000 miles per hour. That means that in roughly 5 minutes, she will be entering the atmosphere at an oblique angle, I may say, and somewhere above Indochina. In the meantime, our task is to slow her down, to reduce the friction and so prevent possible disintegration. You all know your jobs, but the main burden of control rests with Finlayson and Hackett here at the TPC under my direction. Well, any questions?
I have one. A highly important one, Professor Walters.
It's Harry back from outside.
Yes, Harry? All your men under cover?
They are. All under cover.
Then make your question short, please. We haven't much time.
All right, I will.
What's the matter, Carmichael? You're still as a sheet.
He's got a gun.
I've just been to your office, Professor, and used the radio telephone.
What? You had no right.
I've been doing it for some time now, when you were elsewhere. I've had certain instructions.
From the RAF?
From my employers. And keep your right hand out of your pocket, Walters. I got you covered.
Gracious, the evil.
Oh, Granny.
What the devil's the meaning of this? Will somebody explain?
I will, Mr. McIntyre. As you suspected, there has been a spy on this island. Sending information about Satellite 7 to interested parties.
Shut up, O'Neill.
He believed that the launching here was to take place on the 21st, and arranged with those interested parties to speed their own production of a moon satellite, which they plan to launch on the 20th.
You're wasting
The
your
decision
breath.
to bring forward the launching of Satellite 7 took him by surprise, especially the launching at 6 o'clock this morning. He had to think quickly.
O'Neill, how do you know all this?
Billy Hackett and I conducted a private investigation. Last night, Billy found a document, shall we say, which suggested to us the spy's identity.
You can prove his identity?
Up until now, we couldn't, but I think we're about to get all the proof we need.
Cut that cackle, will you? And stand back from that machine. Finlayson, and you, Hackett. Go on, stand back, or I'll use this gun. That's better. Now for our question, Walter.
You traitor! All right, Roderick. Carmichael, in 3 minutes the satellite is due to make contact with the Earth's atmosphere. That's all that matters at this moment. If we don't take action in time, it will be destroyed.
You'll have plenty of time to take action, provided your answer to my question is satisfactory.
Well?
The full detail of the operation is lying there on the desk. If you hand it over to me now and let me go, I'll take no further action. But if you refuse, I'll put a bullet in the TPC, or as many as is necessary to put it out of action. And your satellite will burn itself out like a shooting star. Well, what's your answer?
I cannot give you the detail. It's top secret.
You'll not get away with this. I'll carry
Make
you
one
on.
more, McIntyre, I'll drop you. You heard me, Walters. The detail or the destruction of all your plans.
Don't you understand? This detail will be published later for the benefit of every country in the world.
I want it now. I want it now.
No, I can't. Carmichael, within 2 minutes, I must have the braking jets in action.
Why did you make sure of that? Just hand over that detail.
Don't do it, Professor. The atomic motor is years before its time. I'll deal my hand.
No, Roderick, I'll deal with it.
You keep your distance,
Oh,
O'Neill.
don't get him. He's terrible.
All right, Friday.
I said keep your distance.
You did as we planned, Billy? Yes, early this morning. Big man spotted him since then.
I'll risk it.
O'Neill.
Give me that gun.
I warn you,
I'm a
O'Neill.
bit stronger than you, I think. You haven't a chance.
Oh, haven't I?
All right, folks. No, I'm done. I changed the bullets in his gun.
Don't look so astonished, Carmichael. They were blanks.
Blanks?
Why, you can't touch me. Well, on the contrary, let's see what a little judo can do. Tony, Jake, quick! Get the rope. It's in Johnny's mouth.
Right, sir. Just a minute.
Go ahead. Take it easy, Carmichael.
Here we are, sir. That's strong, close line.
boys, cut him up.
Get your hands off me.
You keep quiet. Jake, pull that end through below him.
Tight, boys, tight.
Tighter, Jake, tighter. That's it.
Oh, well done, that's fixed him. Now, Professor, you can get on with your job, I think.
Fergus, what can I say? I'm deeply indebted to you.
An officer in the RAF. It's incredible.
He wasn't in the RAF at all.
Eh?
But I'll explain all that later.
Winslow, Brown, get up. Take the prisoner through to the secondary control room. Keep him there until we can hand him over to the sergeant after the landing. Right there.
Come on, we'll get you for this, O'Neill. If it takes me 20 years, I'll get you.
Save your breath. Thanks, boys.
Now, we can discuss this unfortunate incident later. Meantime, we've no time to waste. Satellite 7 is less than 1,000 miles above the Earth.
Well, we can take a seat now and watch the landing.
Right, sir. Come on, Zeke.
Oh,
Over here.
Father, thank goodness you and Billy took precautions.
Professor, sir, can I have your attention?
Now, quiet, everybody, please.
Listen to this oscillation, sir. Becoming more violent. Look at the squeeze.
Hold it, Phillipson. It must be badly right through the screen. Not now. Nothing must go wrong now.
That was part 7 of Angus McVicker's adventure serial Satellite 7, produced in the Scottish studios of the BBC. The BBC presents Satellite 7, an adventure serial in 8 parts by Angus McVicker. The storyteller is 15-year-old Jake Thompson. Part 8, Moon Messenger.
We had captured our spy, Harry Carmichael. Now Satellite 7 was approaching the Earth on its return journey. Would it land safely? Had it brought back pictures of the hidden side of the moon? Professor Walters was quiet and tense as he and his assistants prepared for the landing.
Roderick, take the count, please.
Right, give me a second to adjust the tuning.
Listen to the blips on the radar screen.
Yes, speeding up as she comes closer.
Finlayson, Hackett, you ready?
Right, sir. Okay, sir. So after all the commotion, my memoirs will have more chapters than I thought.
Shouldn't wonder, Hackett.
I'm so excited, Granny.
I'm sure, dear. But there's nothing to be afraid of now. Evil has gone from Shuna.
All set, Professor. 850 miles, temperature 376.
Thank you. Circuit 1, please.
Circuit 1, contact!
Emergency demolition, stand by.
ED, standing by, sir.
700, temperature 389. 400 miles from the limits of the Appleton lair. They'll be breaking any moment now, Jake.
Well, this is even worse than the launching.
650, temperature 407.
TPC jets, action.
TPC jets, action, sir.
Thrust 50%.
Slowing down, sir. 31 miles per second.
Good.
She left the atmosphere at about 13 miles per second. They must get her down to that.
Gosh.
Steady as she comes, sir. Gyro steady. Watch her closely.
450, temperature 473.
24.31. TPC jet, 75.
75, sir.
400, temperature 497.
17.18. Good. TPC jet, 100.
100, sir.
370, temperature 510.
She's almost reached the ionosphere.
Just about. The temperature will shoot up now. Quiet, boy. 340, temperature 682.
See it shooting up.
13.20. A little too fast, Roderick.
Depends which part of the Appleton lair she struck.
Gyro's mucking about a bit, sir. Hold her, Hackett. She's out of the vacuum now. I'm doing my best, sir. Like a frightened old she is.
300, temperature 793.
12.29. That's it. That's more like it.
270, temperature 721.
Good. 10.31.
Increase acceleration, sir. Fuel level falling, sir.
Danger mark. TPC jet, 75.
75, sir.
Why do you do that?
There's only a limited amount of jet fuel in the satellite. If it all burnt out before we reached the ground, the braking system would fail and she'd crash. 200, temperature 683.
8.73. Coming in over Europe now. Gyro's all over the place, sir. Bound to be. Air current. Keep hold of her.
Yes, sir.
150, temperature 701.
6.70.
100, temperature 759.
5.64.
Temperature's gone up again.
More air friction, quite natural.
60 miles, temperature 763.
4.37. Gyro Hackett. Steadying, sir. Oh, yes. Positive airflow in the heaviside layer.
35 miles, temperature 692.
2.77. Over the mainland of Scotland now. Coming in as steady as a rock, sir.
20 miles, temperature 623.
1.16. Fuel level falling, sir. Danger mark. TPC jets, 50.
50, sir.
15 miles, temperature 530.
179. Stand by for landing. Fuel level, please. Plus 1 reserve. Should be enough. TPC jet, 100.
100, sir.
Blimey, now she busts. Hold her, man, hold her.
5 miles, 7413.
Exactly right.
119.
Parachute release, stand by.
Standing man, sir. Fuel level 0, sir. CTC just plus negative.
Parachute, please.
Parachute's open, sir.
Now then, watch the periscope mirror.
Velocity dial 0, sir.
Thank you. She's floating down.
What if she comes down in the sea?
No harm done. She'll float. And we have a boat ready.
Should be showing up now.
In a moment. Don't be so impatient, Roderick.
There she is! There she is, Professor!
Yes, look directly overhead, near the white cloud there.
Above the beach as we've landed. Second one, cut, please.
Second one, cut, sir.
My, isn't she beautiful? All white and silver against the blue.
Silver metal, the white parachute.
Like a big gull gliding down.
2,000 feet. Another few seconds, Professor.
Edie, cut, please.
Edie, cut, sir.
Oh, what'd you do? Will she land on the beach?
I think so, Bridie.
Back to the motherfuckers, correct. Dead calm.
Calm. Ain't that the most perfect picture you ever seen?
You're right, sir. You're right. 500 feet, Professor.
Nothing can go wrong now. Surely nothing.
300.
Oh, granny, to think that all this should be happening in my...
200.
Oh, not too fast, is it,
All right,
Roderick?
Professor, all right. 100. 50. 25. It's down! It's down!
Beat the thistle down, right in the center of the beach. So strike a light, we've done it!
Oh, thank goodness I couldn't lose me. Can I brag it?
Providence has been kind.
Well, Roderick, shall we ring Whitehall?
Wait a minute, just give me a minute. I've got to control myself, for I'm fainting and thinking I better do a squirt at all.
I understand, Roderick, I understand.
Teacher for the professor! Hip,
Later that evening, 3 helicopters flew in from the mainland. One was to carry away the spy, and also to take aboard one of the cameras from the satellite, so that the film could be processed. In case of accident, the film from a second camera was kept in schooner to be developed in the station lab. The other 2 helicopters were crowded with reporters and scientific experts, newsreel cameramen, and they were all desperate for information. At 11 o'clock that night, in Mr. O'Neill's room at the cottage, we listened to a special radio feature describing the events of the day. Towards the end, the announcer said,
And now we are all waiting for the film to be processed. The film of the hidden side of the moon. What story will it tell? What secrets will it reveal? Technicians will be working all night, but the process is long and delicate, and no one can afford to make a mistake. And with that feature program about Satellite 7, we come to the end of broadcasting for today.
It was a good program.
Good night, everyone.
Put together in quick
Good
time,
night.
too.
God, that was super.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Oh, but I'm sure you're all starving after all the fuss. I have a cold chicken in the larder. So see you later, Miss Brady. You and I'll go and set supper in the kitchen.
Right, old Granny.
How on earth you two can think of food beats me? Do you realize that at any minute now, Billy Hackett is due with the first pictures of the back of the moon?
You can't live on pictures of the moon, Father. Oh, you never spoke a truer word. Come away, dear. If it wasn't for us women, there would be no men to send up rockets at all. They would starve to death. You've got something there.
She certainly has got something there. Oh, wonderful old lady.
She seems so different tonight. I expect it's because we don't suspect her anymore.
I feel the same. In fact, everybody seems different. Even you, Mr. O'Neill.
I know. Suspicion like that is mud in a pool. Stir it up and the whole picture becomes ugly and goes out of focus.
Tell us, Mr. O'Neill, how did you first suspect Carmichael?
We saw Billy hand the envelope to you last night on top of the cliffs. For a minute, I thought you and Billy were the spies.
Yes. Well, late one night when the professor and Roderick McIntyre were out having their usual exercise, Billy saw Carmichael in the professor's room, speaking on the radio telephone. That was suspicious itself. And Billy told me about it. I didn't say anything to the professor. After all, Carmichael might have had special permission.
But when were you sure, though?
Yesterday afternoon. During our visit to the station, I asked Billy to search Carmichael's room and meet me later on the cliffs. Well, he did find something. 2 letters. Both sound H. Carmichael in different handwriting.
See, Jake, come on.
That was even more suspicious. But still not conclusive proof. So we bided our time, taking the precaution, as you know, of removing the bullets from Carmichael's revolver and substituting blanks.
Just as well you did.
This morning I took along a revolver myself, in case of accident, you know. But fortunately, I didn't have to use it.
Well, that just about explains everything.
No wonder you got a shock when you heard me talking to Billy about changing the ammunition.
What did happen to the real Carmichael? I heard you talking about it with one of the reporters.
Apparently, the spy could have been his twin. Though that didn't really matter much, for his men hadn't seen him before he was due to join them here some months ago. He was on detachment from a station in Lincolnshire, As a matter of fact, the real Carmichael was kept prisoner in a house in London.
No.
He got clear late this evening when his captors heard the news and beat it.
Lucky for him.
As you say, Jake, lucky for him.
Wonder what this is.
Come in.
Hello, Billy.
Come on, Billy. Come on in.
Miss Bridie said you was in here discussing affairs of state.
More or less.
Have you got the photographs, Billy?
Yes, I've got a few stills, as you call them. Sensational, that's what the eggheads tell me.
How do you mean, Billy? Sensational?
Well, I can't see much in them myself, but then the prof, he says you have to be a trained observer to appreciate what they mean.
Oh, for goodness sake, show us them, Billy.
Oh, all right, just a minute. Yeah. Have me in this little case. There. 3 of them.
What a moment this is. It's really something to be among the first dozen people in the world to see the other side of the moon.
You're right, Tony.
It don't look much different from the photos of the side we see. The same ring walls, the craters, and the same rills and rays.
Well, that's what I said. But the prof and Mr. McIntyre, they don't agree. This one here, for instance. Look, this mountain here.
Yes, what about it?
Well, everything's quite clear-cut. Except the top of this mountain. There's some kind of fuzz around it.
The eggheads say that is a snowstorm.
By Jove, it could be. And in that case, there must be an atmosphere, in that region at any rate.
And this one here, look, this photo. The deep valley below the mountain.
Oh, yes, it's all covered with dark patches, like spots of an ink blotter.
The prof says that is vegetation. A kind of moss, he thinks. The photo was taken in what you might call the moon morning. Look at them shadows, see?
Oh, yes.
Before the heat of the sun could shrivel up anything growing.
I believe he's right.
This is proof positive that at one time the moon did have an atmosphere. It may be nearly all gone now, but from this evidence some pockets still remain.
Well, that's what he said, the prof, I mean. But wait, here's the payoff. This third photo here, of the same valley, a different angle, though, see? See anything peculiar?
Can't say I do.
It's just another dark patch higher up on the side of the mountain.
Oh, yes, but wait a minute. That's in full glare of the sun.
Yeah?
If it was vegetation, it would be shriveled up long before the shaded stuff in the valley.
Of course.
Right.
And it doesn't throw a shadow either.
Then it must be a cave.
Yeah.
And notice something else?
Look, Tony. Look, Mr. O'Neill. A thin line leading down from the cave to the valley. It could be a pathway or a track.
It says here the photo was taken at a height of only 20 miles. A track would show up, all right.
A track leading down to the area of vegetation.
That is what the prof says.
Come on, folks. Supper's ready. What on earth are y'all looking so solemn for? Come on. You can tell us all about your old moon while we're enjoying the chicken.
Oh, yes, right. It's a sense of perspective we need. Come on, the moon can wait.
Here we are.
Yeah, I wonder what they'll say in the newspapers tomorrow.
The Spaniards have a saying about mañana. Their tomorrow that never comes.
Well, I can't wait till tomorrow. What about that chicken? I'm starving.
That was the final episode of Angus McVicker's adventure serial, Satellite 7, produced in the Scottish studios of the BBC.